Welcome to The Changemakers with me, Michael Heyman. Now, what if we could work together to create and shape our future? The answer to this question is the goal of my guest today, Sacha Romanovitch, Chief Executive of Grant Thornton, right here in the UK. In 2015, she became the first female Chief Executive of a major accountancy firm and has since called for a new normal when it comes to the professional services sector. Central to this agenda for change is Grant Thornton's Vibrant Economy Initiative, a healthy combination of activism and ideas about realising the future potential of the UK. Sacha, welcome to Changemakers.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Vibrant Economy.
So Vibrant Economy was really looking at, how do we create an environment where businesses and people can thrive, and recognising that, we've moved from a world of abundance to a world where we have got constrained resources and the challenges facing us are very different, and just perhaps the way in which we actually tackle those aren't the ideas of the past, but actually a new normal where we collaborate to make stuff happen.
How severe are those challenges in your view?
I think they're pretty fundamental, and I think the hard thing is it's almost a bit like boiling frog syndrome, is they kind of creep up on us, But when you look at, some of the dynamics in the world in terms of the impacts of climate change and the potential for that in terms of global migration, even with climate change just starting to tip the edge, we have about 68 million people displaced from their countries by war. We're looking to a future where, over 50% of the world are going to be living in water scarcity. And those can seem quite esoteric.
But there are things you can do about it, right? So inherent to Vibrant Economy is activism, is it, in terms of people actually doing things?
Yeah, and it's really looking at, at a fundamental level, it's actually looking at, if we boil it down into the UK, if you want the UK to thrive in a global economy, you need to have trust and integrity in markets, where people will invest, where they'll innovate. You need to have an environment where people have access to education, to healthcare, can get around easily, You need those things in place. And you need dynamic businesses thriving and growing and employing people and exporting so that we can actually really sustain our population into the future.
So in terms of what you are doing and what the business is doing to stimulate a vibrant economy, give us a sense of actually what this means at grassroots when you're actually working your way around the UK?
Well, in a really practical level, what we recognised was that, we had this potential for incredible convening power. We act for 56% of the FTSE 100. We work with 40% of the public sector, and our private sector clients employ 6.3 million people, which is 25% of private sector employment. So it's actually saying, through that, we've got this incredible ability to bring people together, and noticing actually that often we're operating in silos, right? And yet some of the challenges that we're facing as a country require cross collaboration, and that if we're able to bring together the ideas and resources from people across the sector, then just perhaps we can actually make a change.
And when you look at that community that you can convene, and you're giving them a more purposeful call out, if you will, how are they responding to that in terms of actually seeing Vibrant Economy as something that they can be involved with?
What's fantastic is I think that it plays on a number of different levels. I mean, on a really on a really simple basis, it just makes good business sense, right? If you can influence the environment to be more vibrant and thriving, then your business is going to thrive with it. But also on a practical level, actually operating with purpose is fantastic for attracting people, and particularly the millennials. We hear about that a lot. And also in terms of clients who want to grow and thrive, tend to be thinking in this way anyway.
So can you make profit out of purpose? I mean, is that what you should even be doing?
Yeah, well, I think it's actually quite important, this whole notion of profits with purpose. I think it's fairly fundamental. There's loads of evidence now that shows that sustainably profitable businesses are ones that have a purpose beyond a pure profit motive. Equally, it's really important you are making profit, because actually that is what allows you to invest, to to grow jobs, etc., etc., etc. If you're not making money, then
so that's where it starts.
Yeah.
So just before we leave Vibrant Economy as an initiative that you're very much vested in sort of looking at, give us a sense of some of the key parts. Look at faces of a vibrant economy. Tell us a little bit about that, for example.
Well, so we really looked at, if we're going to get people really focused on how they can play their part, one of the things was, do people feel inspired to play their part? Young people in school, what are they looking at in terms of their careers? And
so the role models.
Yeah, the role models, And, if you look at young people in school, all the surveys show, they want to be pop stars, they want to be footballers, they want to be hairdressers, which are all fine find things to
might
get
be other
into.
career routes
but
as
there
well.
might be other career routes as well. And so what we wanted to do was to identify leaders across the public, private, third sector who were either innovating in terms of how their solutions were actually doing something different in the world. People like Concrete Canvas.
Right. And the method of how you're doing that is it's a photography exhibition, portraiture.
So what we've tried to do is in everything we're doing is to think about how can we actually live this including, involving. And so we decided that actually using photography, visual media, using Instagram would be a great way, but also actually giving an opportunity for young photographers to work with established photographers to build their portfolio would be a really exciting way to bring it to life.
And you're bringing that message to London this spring with Vibrant Capital. Tell us a little bit about Vibrant Capital.
So Vibrant Capital is really giving us a chance to explore two different aspects really. The living and working in London, how will we shape that future? How will we play our part in actually shaping that future? And then also doing business through London. How is London actually bringing wealth and benefit to the whole of the UK, but also how is it playing its part as a global city, particularly in a post-Brexit world?
What's the starting, well, you mentioned post-Brexit world, what's the starting point for this in terms of how you feel about London as a place to achieve those things? Are you starting from an optimistic position, or is it one where you see those very real challenges that others have spoken about, including the Mayor actually, about what London's future might actually look like in that post-Brexit world?
I always start from an optimistic place. If you look at London, it's one of the unique capitals where we've got the financial centre, the legal centre and the digital tech centre all in one place, It's like having New York, Washington and San Francisco all together in
without
one geography.
Without the sunshine, of course.
Without the sunshine, of course. Or we sometimes have sunshine. But, so the possibilities from that are enormous. And so I think now it's actually that opportunity to really say, right, what are the real strengths? How are we going to make sure that we really take those forward? And also, what are the challenges we need to address, and how can we do that in a really constructive and practical way?
Now, you've taken a vibrant message, not only out to external audiences, but right within the Grant Thornton business, turning it into a shared ownership model. Tell us a little bit about your mission as a chief executive of a growing business.
Well, for me, is this really clear thing that if we can, a fundamental belief that profits with purpose will lead to us being a sustainable business. That actually, if we really think about using our purpose to inform who we act for, what we do with them, what we speak out on, and how we act as a business, that drives success. Shared enterprise is just actually saying, look, if instead of having a few people at the top making the decisions and telling everyone what to do, what if we could actually liberate 4,500 people to share ideas and responsibility?
I mean, you've spoken about the ideas about the new normals as sort of being a female chief exec, but also the new normal of more purposeful businesses. You often think of them as startups, early stage firms, but a lot of eyes are on Grant Thornton right now in terms of it being a larger business that can hardwire purpose into the way it operates. What are the sort of challenges and opportunities of that as you see it?
I think the challenges of going into that world is that we still operate in a world that is pretty binary, that still has a predominant leadership model of kind of the alpha leadership of a few people at the top telling you what to do. And what you're trying to do is to actually shift from that space to actually saying, right, we need to think longer term. And we need to actually create a space where everybody can contribute. That is quite, there isn't a playbook for this, right?
It's new territory.
It's new territory. Right. It's new territory. I think there's that brilliant quote. Is that the path that you can see isn't the path. Yeah.
And nobody knows what the path is.
And nobody knows what the path is.
But we are expecting disruption, right? Not least in the world of accountancy, in business, changing mindsets among millennials and younger audiences. Yeah. When you're sort of chief executive of a business trying to make sense of that and you can't see the path, what do you do? It's a tough gig, and it can be quite a lonely gig, which is why actually the vibrant economy movement of bringing together other leaders trying to figure it out together is enormously helpful. But I think that thing around having a trust and belief that actually having the North Star of right, this is where we're trying to get to, and keeping that in sight. And then also just being able to listen and adjust and feedback, because fundamentally, you've kind of got to prove the model works, and there will be rocks in the road. You won't be perfect, and you kind of have got to be resilient to that. Do you think that what Britain has to play for is to be a purpose-led good economy? I mean, are we going to see in future years more Grant Thorntons, more Unilevers, being here, headquartered here, in terms of the future opportunity?
Yeah. I would love to see, the UK being seen as really the place that shows the future of capitalism, where we can really create this inclusive growth, where actually business is being seen as a force for good, and that collaboration across society becomes the way in which we can actually manage the challenges.
And of course, a lot of people don't see it as a force for good right now. If you look at Facebook, Cambridge Analytica, big issues with trust. What's the correction?
I think the correction is, using really having businesses prepared to actually step out and say, do you know what? Sometimes we get stuff wrong. That transparency, owning up to it. It's like anything, isn't it? In our private lives, we all know the people we trust, right? All of us are human. All of us mess up sometimes. The people who try to hide it, you never trust again. The people who say, look, I'm really sorry. Do you know what? I got that wrong. And here's what I'm doing about it. That's how you build trust.
Right. Now, you're working closely with government at the moment. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm co-chairing the Inclusive Economy Partnership with Caroline Mason of the Esme Fairbairn Foundation. And that's really, again, sort of saying there are some big challenges facing society. We've picked three to start off with, which is transition to work, mental health, and financial inclusion, and bringing together big businesses and civil society to identify both some ideas that we can scale, but also some big ideas where if we can really do something with these, we could make a difference.
And the message again here is partnership, isn't it, between private and public sectors? I mean, is that the future we're going to see, do you think?
Yeah, I think in a world of scarce resources, and complex challenges, the only way you're going to resolve them is through collaborating and sharing ideas and working together. This old thing of like competition and fighting each other, it doesn't actually move us forward.
Where does this sort of the urge to make change, where does your own drive come from in terms of you the person, in terms of actually being involved, staking your future on creating change? What makes you tick, Sacha?
It's great question. What makes me tick? I think I've wanted to make a difference from a really early age. When I was adopted, my mum said I came talking and was always the one who stayed behind at Brownie Group and all of these sorts of annoying things that she found immensely frustrating. I think once I had children and also going through certain things in terms of financial crises, sort of realizing that personal agency, that I can sit back and let the world happen to me, or I can step forward and try and influence it to leave something, pass something on to my children that is, maybe a bit better because I've made a contribution.
And for people that are watching right now saying, I want to be that person, I want to make a difference, I want to do something, what are the steps you can take if you're thinking about you call vibrant economy a movement, very powerful word. If you want to join the movement, how do you do it?
Well, for us, a great place just to connect in through our website. There's loads of material to actually start commenting and engaging on social to share ideas, to step forward. And also we produced a sort of
so you've created the vibrant economy materials.
So we've created the materials. We also, from the work, we've engaged over 2,000 people around the country in what we called live labs. And out of that, we sort of shared, here are some of the different ways in which you can get involved. One of them is getting involved with the impact hubs, fantastic local resources where people can get involved in activism at a grassroots level. There's maybe a bit, less political, but more we want to positively change society.
How do you deal with doubt and the loss of hope?
I deal with it by, and we all have those moments.
The setbacks.
Is the setbacks. And how I deal with it is say, always look for the little thing that is working, that little green shoot, and nurture that and see what you can grow from there. Because if you can always look to that, then there is always possibility.
Sacha Romanovitch, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
100% inspiration there from Sacha and Grant Thornton's Vibrant Economy. And there's a lot to take away from this conversation. In a world of change, business can and should be a force for good. And there's an urgency here also, because now is the time to do it. Purpose can drive profit, and it's the vital ingredient for today's mindful corporation. Vibrancy in our economy is not just a nice to have, it's a must have for a nation that seeks to succeed in uncertain times. Because as Sacha says, the path you can see isn't necessarily the path you're going to take. I'll see you next time.